Today we are going to do a book haul. Because you have more, you should start.
I'll start. Well, I'll start by saying that some of my books come from a dumpster behind a thrift store. And
it's true.
And here are two that I found. They're both French. It's Cocteau's Thomas the Imposter and Italo Calvino's Baron in the Trees. And by some coincidence, I found the English edition of The Baron in the Trees as well. Why I'm buying French books, I don't actually speak French, but I'm still holding out
one day.
That one day I'll learn French, and maybe it'll help that I have the French and the English edition.
I can read French.
You can?
I can read French.
Well, I'm French. My background is French mostly, but yeah, none of it.
Huh.
I didn't pick it up.
Oh, that's funny. So to continue in the vein of Canadiana, I suppose, I picked up this quite charming Emily Carr, Sisters in Alaska.
Oh, she's very Canadian.
I can't describe what it is because it's like a journal.
It's sort of a facsimile text, you know? It's just...
it's like journal entries and then drawings.
It's an illustrated journal.
Which they're quite Beatrix Potter or something, like a little bit closer to that vein, the old style. But it's neat. I think it looks pretty interesting.
Next, I just grabbed a volume of D.H. Lawrence. I think it's a collection of his novellas, which is my favorite form right now. I love novellas.
The next library find I have is Everything is Cinema, The Working Life of Jean-Luc Godard.
That's great.
We are both very into French New Wave film.
Specifically Godard.
Yes, he is our favorite. So I pretty much inhale anything I can that has Godard in it.
Absolutely. My next find was Edward Albee's The Goat, or Who is Sylvia? And I suppose I buy a lot of plays for the average reader, you know, relatively speaking.
You buy a lot of plays.
I'm particularly fond of Edward Albee. I started reading him after watching Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Oh, that's who that is.
That's who he is, yeah. But I think The Zoo Story was what really broke me into Edward Albee. That's my favorite play, or one of my favorite plays.
So, my next library haul is The 10-Year Nap by Meg Wolitzer. I like her as, I've actually already read, I'm almost halfway through this already. I like her as an author, but I find her writing style a little bit, how to put this? I just find it a little bit...
Tedious?
No, it's not. Tedious isn't the right word.
No. Overwrought?
No.
I haven't read her. I actually should be trying to fill this in for you.
Yeah, this new way of writing where everything's connected and there's just tons of description. I do find it, like, it's like my light reads to read stuff like that. So this is kind of a light read, but I love the themes. The themes are fantastic, and I'm not gonna spoil any of it for you. She explores a lot of films about, like, the gender divide and class divides and things like that. So, you know, theme-wise, I love her novels, but the writing style isn't... It's just not my favorite, and it's a new writing style that I don't love, and I think she could be better. So.
My next find was this lovely little volume of Katherine Mansfield's
so
selected stories. Yeah, I've got one other like this. I think it's a collection of stories by Tolstoy, but I don't see them too often, so I pick them up when I find them.
My next, actually, he found this
at a garage sale.
At a garage sale, is just Poems to Remember.
Just a nice volume.
Yeah, it's just a nice volume. It's...
I knew it had a few of your favorite poems.
Yeah, it's cute. You know, it's a collection of poetry.
Yeah. I found an author that Zoe doesn't particularly like. Well, you know, it's not that you dislike him, you just find him a bit dry, and that's William Faulkner. I've only read a couple, but...
Dead white dude writing.
No, that's not wrong. It you know what to expect.
Exactly.
But, why not?
My next haul for this month is a bunch of Susan Sontag's essays and speeches. She's great. I love Susan Sontag.
We both love her.
Anything that I can find of hers, I pick up. So
Always.
I'm pretty excited about this.
I'm pretty excited about this actually, and I haven't actually read much Lawrence Durrell, but
I don't know if you'll like him.
I don't know if I'll like him either.
I have been curious about him for a while, and I started him, and I'm not sure.
I have the Alexandria Quartet, and I haven't broken into it yet.
I started it.
But you said it was, again, dead white too. He's a bit dry.
He's a bit dry. He's better than some because he's funny.
He's got a sense of humor.
Kind of. My next find, I'm not sure about, and I don't know if I'll ever read it. The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out the Window and Disappeared by Jonasson. Who knows if I'll ever read it, but I have it.
I think I've spoken about Gertrude Stein before. I'm a great admirer of hers, so I was excited to find this selection of her writing by the Yale University Press. I have another selection, but hopefully there's not too much overlap.
It's a nice copy too.
That's a very nice copy.
So the next one is really because we like the publisher.
Yes,
I
Virgo.
know nothing about this book or the author.
Virgo. They're a feminist press. They were founded in the 70s, and they started off reprinting out-of-print books by women, and later they published new books, by authors like Margaret Atwood, and actually they published the first book by Sarah Waters. I can't remember the name of it now. I found 2 volumes of poetry. The publisher is Black Sparrow Press, and anyone who knows them probably knows them for John Fante or Charles Bukowski. But these are 2 volumes by Diane Wakoski.
Aren't they pretty?
They're
super pretty.
Everything that comes from Black Sparrow Press is this pretty.
It's gorgeous.
They're one of my favorite presses.
And the poetry is so readable. Like, you want to sit with this collection of poetry because it's like nicely spaced, and the text is big and it's separated. So
yeah,
it's quite an exciting find.
It's a good format.
So the next book I got recently is Foxfire by Joyce Carol Oates. I've already read it. I read it in my early 20s, which is when you should read this. If you haven't read it yet and you're in your early 20s, go read it, because it gets too late after that point. And it's good, and I'm excited to have a copy of it because I can give it to people who I think will enjoy it. So
good recommendation, yeah. My next is a book I own, but once again I've bought a double. And that book is Celine's Journey to the End of Night. And it's just a book I've been meaning to read for a long time. I have no excuse. Now I have 2 copies. Hopefully I'll read it soon.
Yeah, now you have a reading copy.
That's right.
My next one is also Joyce Carol Oates. I like her. She's a writer that I like. And she's quite accessible because she writes so many things.
She writes prolifically.
Yes. This one, I saw it at the book sale from our first haul.
That's right.
And I didn't buy it because I didn't want to spend the money on it. And it didn't have, the copy wasn't in great shape.
They were missing the dust jacket.
Yes. And then Matt found it, where again?
It was KW Bookstore.
Yeah, in Kitchener, and it's a much nicer copy. So I'm glad I held out, and I'm excited to read it. I like the title. I don't know, it appeals to some sense of, younger sentimentality. So I'm pretty excited.
That's a great title, I agree. My next book is one I'm actually very excited about. It's, I saw Sophie the Uneducated Reader bought Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov, and I found a copy of The Gift in the same edition. It's just
it's so
a beautiful hardcover, and I absolutely had to. I'll do one more because we're running out, and that is Ernest Hemingway's True at First Light. It's actually the last published novel by Ernest Hemingway, and that's because at the time of his death he had a manuscript that just ended up in a library. It was unpublished, and that manuscript was, the editors various editors looked at it, and they ended up actually publishing 2 novels, 2 interpretations of this manuscript. One of which is True at First Light, and the other is Under Kilimanjaro. So maybe I'll read them both at some point and compare them.
You probably won't do
that. I probably won't, though. I'll be lucky if I read one of them.
Yeah. So my last haul from the last week or so is, and I'm not sure how I feel about it because it might be.
It's a very large book.
Ahab's Wife, or the Stargazer. I don't know what the name is of the person because the writing is so genre specific.
The text. There's a font that is.
Yeah, I can't read it. I'm really interested in literary, the different perspectives that are part of our canon. For example, Jean Rice's Wide Sargasso Sea, is the perspective of the woman in the attic in Jane Eyre. And I actually read that before I read Jane Eyre because, how do I put this? I'm not a Jane Eyre kind of girl. I find this is going to be very unpopular in the booktube world, but I guess it's got to be said sooner rather than later. I don't like Jane Austen. I don't like the Bronte that wrote Jane Eyre. I find Jane Eyre to be totally insulting. The true love of her life ends up being this gruff, terrible man who locks his ex-wife up in an attic is awful. And Wide Sargasso Sea is much better. And I'll actually probably at some point do a review or a book comparison because I just read Jane Eyre and I have a very beautiful copy and I wanted to like it because the copy was really beautiful. And women that I respect their taste love Jane Eyre.
They do.
But I don't really get it. So I'll probably one day do like a whole booktube where I look at both those books. Anyway, this one is Ahab's Wife. So
it's Ahab, Captain Ahab from Moby Dick.
It's it's the story of the minor female character
who's left behind.
Yeah, that's why I'm interested. I'm more interested in that form and that style. I don't know if I'll actually really end up reading it cover to cover or just kind of flipping through and getting the idea because I have a collection of books that kind of explore the same thing and it interests me.
Absolutely.
So that is it for my haul. My haul's a bit sad this week.
I have one last book, and that is Remainder by Tom McCarthy. And he's an author I've been very interested in because he's an advocate of experimental fiction and innovative fiction of any kind. I think most people will probably know him for C because it was nominated for the Booker Prize. That's really where he that was his breakout, I guess. But this was his first, so good place to start.
So that's our haul since our first video. So a week and a half.
A week?
Yeah, you always think it's longer. It's about a week and a half.
It feels like it's been long, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we've kind of accumulated in that time.
Yes.
Not sure what we're going to be doing next.
No.
Haven't decided yet. I'm thinking it should be a double team review.
We'll probably do another review soon.
So look forward to that. Thanks again, everyone, for the comments.
Yeah.
Keep commenting. If you see something that is in this pile and you've read it and you think we shouldn't waste our time or you think we should,
tell us your thoughts.
Let us know because so much comes in that most of the time, if it's not something I really love, it gets put to the back of my shelf. So
it's hard to par down.
Yeah. If you think it should go straight on my to-be-read shelf, tell me. Okay. That's it for me.
That's it. Thanks
right.
for watching.
Bye, guys.